All right, Kaduna State is suddenly becoming a case study in financial inclusion. And so today, 66% of residents now have access to formal financial services. And that's a 20% jump in just 3 years, with more than 800,000 first-time account holders entering the system.
It's a big shift. I mean, when you hear Kaduna these days, your ears need to be wide open because so many great things are happening. And it didn't just happen by accident. You know, Kaduna has been pushing a deliberate, people-focused strategy, taking financial services closer to communities and removing the barriers that keep people out.
But even with these gains, some gaps remain, especially the gender gap in account ownership and the low activity levels of many accounts.
So this morning, we'll break down what worked, what still needs attention, and what the next phase of inclusion should look like. And joining us for the conversation is Kaduna State Commissioner for Finance, Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, to help us understand the road ahead. Many thanks, Honorable Commissioner, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's begin by asking you, Kaduna State has grown, so to say, in terms of account ownership inclusion to more than 66%. But the resident population in a span, this happened in a span of 3 years, which has caused this population growth. So how do you explain Kaduna's success within this short period?
Well, thank you very much. I think Kaduna should give kudos or credit of all these things to His Excellency, the Governor of the state, Senator Malam Upasani, that came face to face with the huge level of exclusion, not only in Kaduna State, but in the northern part of the country. And he came into this knowledge based on his former position as chairman, Senate Committee on Banking and Finance, when he realized the figures were really very low. And he realized that whenever there was interventions, you will see the people up here will not be able to benefit because they don't have bank accounts. So immediately he became the governor of the state. The first thing he did was to sign an executive order, the first executive order signed by him as governor, and the first and the only executive order on financial inclusion done in any state of Nigeria to date. And immediately he did that, he decided to create a powerful committee that will drive financial inclusion in the state. And immediately that work started. Well, that was when we started seeing the rise of about 20% in terms of level of inclusion in the state. And definitely, like you said, it was not that simple. It was not an easy task, but a lot was done with the support of His Excellency by every means that we actually, because I happen to be the chairman of the Financial Inclusion and Literacy Committee from then till date.
Honorable Commissioner, you did quite a lot, and I did a bit of research about Kaduna, or if you like, I've been following Kaduna State. In 2021, the state built software to link the State Identity Management Agency, that's Kadrima records with names which were then pushed to banking systems to register BVNs. Now, 2 years before the 2023 CBN directive, the state actually registered 7.9 million names, achieving the highest per capita name registration rate among Nigeria's 36 states. Now, why did this matter for financial inclusion, and what lessons can be drawn from this?
Well, you see, identity management is really very important for two reasons. One is the fact that it is a requirement, NIN is a requirement to have a banking account. And secondly, you see, it is what actually boosts identity. And identity is a factor that is really required when you come to access to finance. Because credits or products, banking credits, like the consumer banking, is a kind of credit or a product that can only be given when there are proper identity. Because it does not actually need a lot of customer relationship management. The number of people that will benefit are huge. So therefore, you require that identity to be able to reach anybody that is going to default. So for that reason, that is the reason why when you go to developed countries, you will see that somebody will just go and pick a car, somebody will just go and pick a refrigerator, somebody can even buy a house through consumer lending. But in the case of Nigeria, that cannot happen. Because if you make a mistake of giving somebody a facility as consumer lending without proper documentation, proper securitization, your money is gone. And you cannot say you want to collect security for each and every such lendings. So that one of the major benefits of having NIN is that of ensuring identity management. And again, it helps in actually increasing the level of data that you have. Linking of the BVN, linking of the NIN is not even only about account opening itself. Because when you open the account, there are so many benefits to you as the account holder and even to the general, to the state. Because if you have that kind of identity, the state, for example, can be able to identify who are the people that are residents in my state, can be able to know who should pay this tax, for example, that where people to government payment is going to be enhanced when that linkages are increased.
All right, and then you are 66% gone. That's a B grade in academic parlance, so there are still grounds to cover, right? So what challenges remain with this financial inclusion drive in Kaduna State?
Well, actually, the challenges that we faced initially in the first phase was first that of literacy. Generally, people should know, why should I even be included financially? People don't feel there is need for them to be included. So they needed that awareness. In fact, even by the time the committee was created, we even had the job of even enlightening even the members of the committee, because issue of financial inclusion around that time was more of an academic exercise. People were not fully aware of what that meant. So that was the first instance. And the second problem that we have was the kind of social and religious biases. Like when you come to Kaduna State, like any part of the north, men wouldn't allow their wives to go out to meet other men. So it was a huge challenge. But we had to develop, when His Excellency found that we were having that problem, the women that were part of our targets, we couldn't reach them because the men wouldn't allow them. So he said, look, you are bankers. What you should think about is these agent banks that will have to deal with these communities that have such people that think that way. Why don't you employ ladies as the agents that will go and deal with them? Because an average lady will feel comfortable, the husband will feel comfortable when they go and meet a lady, not a man. So we developed that, we borrowed that idea, and immediately we implemented it, the women started coming. And when they started coming, the number increased, even though still there is some gap between the women and the men, about 19% gap in terms of level of inclusion. And another problem we had was that of religion. Some people felt conventional banking was un-Islamic. Interest is usually, shouldn't be accepted. Again, we brought the idea that we have Islamic banks in Nigeria, about 4 or 5 of them. So when we now tell people, come and open account, when they say they don't want because they don't want usury, we will not say, okay, go to Jais, go to Lotus, go to Taj, go to this. Also that barrier was broken. We are now able to penetrate and have even the Muslims to do it. Again, we had issue of insecurity in the state at that time. It was impossible for us to penetrate certain locations. So at that was the time when the governor wanted to actually achieve this, but there was that problem. Along with other economic development efforts of the governor, they were becoming practically impossible because of the insecurity. So that was when he developed the Kaduna model, the non-kinetic approach of security control. And when that was achieved, that was when, about a year or so ago, even the United States government, they have reduced the level of refusal of their people to visit states from red to amber. So from that time, we were able to penetrate locations and what have you. We also had issue of penetration in terms of road infrastructure, because the major areas of concern at that time was the rural population, where the underserved stay. So he decided to create an open up roads that could be able to penetrate to locations, bridges, and what have you. So all these challenges that we had, were able to surmount them. Yes, we dealt with them, and I can tell you smooth now.
By the way, Honorable Commissioner, when you said that men in Kaduna would not allow their wives go meet other men, no man anywhere in the world would allow that. But in this case, they would not allow their women go register and probably do banking services when a man is involved.
When I was referring to meeting, is about going to access the banking services. But when you go to Lagos, you will see a woman.
No, I didn't need to explain that because Victor here can be
I
something
understood
else.
it as meeting, but it's fine.
Anyways,
I withdraw my comment.
Thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner, for coming to terms with my understanding.
Yeah.
So that Victor doesn't misunderstand that statement.
You
Anyways,
did it.
Kaduna State has released this 2025-2026 financial inclusion strategy roadmap. Speak to us about some of the strategies in this roadmap.
Okay, you see, when we arrived at where we are today, we felt we still needed to deepen the literacy campaign for people to understand more of it. They understand the need to open accounts, but does it stop there? We still find out that even though the people opened accounts, but the transactions within the accounts are actually low. They are yet to be what we expect them to be. So we need to inform them, we need to make them understand and come to the operations. Again, one of the major reasons why we want people to be financially included is the fact that we want them to participate in the economic development of the state and the country generally. But one of the main requirements to break out the cycle of poverty under which the people at that level live is to bring access to finance. Somebody should be able to have finance to be able to invest. So they are not fully aware of the need for them to get that. They don't even know where to get them. So we want to see how we can deepen the utilization of financial services, including access to finance. And finally, you see, financial inclusion is hanging. It's not institutionalized in almost all the states in Nigeria. So what we want to do as part of our next effort is to see what can we do to institutionalize financial inclusion. Do we want to create it as a unit in a department? Do we want to make it a department in an MDA, ministry department or agency? Or do we want to have it as an agency by itself? So by the time that is done, all the necessary laws are created to make financial inclusion stabilized, to have its own locus, to stand somewhere. So, I mean, at that time, whoever comes would have no choice but to continue to operate and continue to drive financial inclusion to the highest level of our expectation, to ensure that it is serving as a model or as a tool that will bring out people out of poverty. Because one of the major benefits of financial inclusion is an attempt to bring people out of poverty. And without the banking services, formal banking services, and without actually access to finance, which is actually lacking, that is what is not allowing the cycle of poverty under which they operate to be broken. So when we explain to people to understand what they should be included, how they should access the services, and making those financial services easy, accessible, and available. So by the time we do that, it's going to become easy. That's the reason why we also need to deepen digital infrastructure to increase networks. Because if these are unavailable, the provision of services will not be as expected. And immediately somebody goes to deposit money and the money is not going, he will become discouraged. Or when somebody deposits his money and the money is not coming out at the time he wants, he becomes discouraged. So all these gamut of things are what we are trying to do to ensure that financial inclusion is not only going to stabilize in Kaduna State, but we want to see how we can be able to expand this knowledge for people to come and borrow a leaf from what we are doing in Kaduna State to take it to so many other states in this country.
You do have all of this figured out. I'll be interested in researching your background, but give us further insights into the digital economy that Kaduna State is building and how it will help reposition the state for growth.
You see, generally, digital economy is trying to see how we can be able to add to our economic development efforts through digital means. And what we feel is there is also that of knowledge of that ICT, and availability also of digital infrastructure is also low. So by the time you increase that level of ICT knowledge and provision of digital infrastructure, that is when digital economy will begin to increase. His Excellency the Governor is trying to begin something that we call ICT for all, that we want to take in the first instance about 100,000 people that will train them in areas maybe of cyber security, like data analytics, like AI. So in these areas, you will see it's a gamut of economic opportunities. By the time you take cyber security, for example, it's an item that when people are certified in that area, they could work anywhere. You can sit in the comfort of your room and do a lot of work. There are opportunities. People go out looking for jobs that you would have to work from your house to the offices. But by the time you develop this kind of skills, somebody doesn't even need to go out anywhere. He needs only to sit in his house and continue to do certain things, and money will continue to come in. But for this to happen, the digital infrastructure facilities must be made available. And all these things are the effort His Excellency is doing. If you look at even the name registration, it's on the basis of that effort that we're able to achieve the 7.9 million number. And I believe by the time we go and check now, I'm sure we must have gotten more than that 7.9, because it's a daily effort, and it's because of computerization and use of IT infrastructure that we're able to achieve that. So it's not only, even in the case of our revenue collection, we have computerized that. That is the reason why everybody can be able to pay his tax, know how much he's supposed to pay digitally at the comfort of his room. He doesn't need to go out. So that is increasing P to G payment, people to government payment. Even G to P, government to people, also that is also being digitalized, where if you want to give people support, you don't need to sit, go and allow people to queue in. You just sit in the comfort of your office, and monies are sent, and able to get his money.
What about sustainability? Because when another government comes, for instance, what is the assurance that all of these gains will not be reversed just by mere policies?
That is what I told you as part of our financial inclusion roadmap that we are driving. One of the pillars is institutionalization of financial inclusion. And that is the reason why we want to have a locus for it. Where do we want to place this responsibility, this mandate of financial inclusion? Do we intend to put it in the Ministry of Finance as a department or as a unit? Do we want to create an agency by itself? So by the time that is done, it's going to be something that whether we like it or not, that has to exist. And again, there will be laws that will be backing it before such installations are made. So once there is a law backing it, if another governor comes, of course, he has the right to do that. Somebody can even come and say he's going to remove the Ministry of Finance if he so wishes.
Many thanks, Honorable Commissioner. I must say that I'm very interested listening to you. I wish we had more time, really, and I hope we can get you some other time to talk about some other things that, the present administration is doing in Kaduna State. But in 30 seconds, speak to Kaduna residents. What should they expect in the coming years, from this administration?
Honestly, a lot is going to be given to the people of Kaduna State in particular, because even if you look at this year's budget, the governor has budgeted 25% of the resources to education. He has budgeted 25% of the budget to infrastructural facilities provision, especially looking at rural roads, rural infrastructure. He has budgeted 15% of the budget to the area of health. And one good thing about what we did in the budget, or what the governor plans to do to the people of Kaduna is boosting agriculture. Boosting agriculture, we budgeted 12% of the budget, which is unprecedented. So many state budget. When we came in as government of this state, more than not up to $1 billion was budgeted for agriculture. But now we are budgeting 12%. We have the special agricultural purposes zone. We have the African Quality Assurance Center. All these facilities.
Thank you, Honorable Commissioner. Thank you, and well done to the Governor of Kaduna State. Please send our goodwill to him, and of course, keep up the good work. Many thanks for being our guest, Commissioner for Finance, Kaduna State, Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed. It was indeed a pleasure to have you on the program. I must say that it's a good time to be a Kaduna resident. For those, from Kaduna State. And by the way, I can hear that my director would like to come to your state. We can have a feel of all of this, right?
I'm also thinking of getting to Kaduna, maybe relocating to Kaduna to be financially included.
You are already financially included.
All right, so that's our package this Friday on Good Morning Nigeria. I'm Yan Ray John. Live it locked on the NTA.
And I am Victor. So have a great weekend.